Run it, I can't take no loss. I don't even know what it costs. I can't take no loss. I don't even know what it costs.
Welcome to the Mike B Project.
Do it.
Big O, what's up, players?
What's going on, man?
Oh, funny, man. Fuck. Oh, bro, I don't even know where to begin, man. We've just been chopping it up, man. Well, it's good to have you here, man. Tell everybody about yourself.
What is there? So I'm a San Antonio native, born and raised in San Antonio in the heart of the West Side. For people that are not from around here, the heart of the West Side's over there by Guadalupe Street. That's the hood right there. That's where I grew up. Went to elementary there, middle school there, and then Lanier's is the high school. Sidney Lanier right there on Brazos. Grew up Section 8 homes, the projects. Was good at basketball. Decided to pursue basketball, and honestly, that's been a tool in my life that's opened so many doors. It was the reason why I got a full ride to go play Division I basketball in Western Kentucky. So that's a little bit of, I guess, the beginning stages of my life here in San Antonio.
Man, that's incredible, brother. Like, when did you start playing hoops?
So structurally organized basketball, I probably started in 7th grade with middle school. I kind of dabbled a little bit in 5th grade, but I was still in the streets kind of thing, you know, hanging out with those guys. And basketball was just an easy kind of outlet that was, you know, 3 blocks from my house. So it was one of those things that I can just get up and go and play and be able to, you know, disconnect or. Yeah. So that's what.
That's what's up, man. That's awesome, brother. Like, dude, basketball, having that organized outlet, you know, getting off the streets and just being able to get out there, man. And so, who's your favorite player growing up?
Man, honestly, I would have to say players that come to mind, like obviously MJ, Reggie Miller. You know, I remember when this one guy that I used to play in this one little court that it was you know those milk cartons back in the day. You cut out the bottom. Yep. You put a board. You nail it. Yep. So this one guy comes up and he's like, "Hey," he starts playing with me and he's like, "All right, you're pretty good, man. You know what? I got something for you." And he gave me this poster of the Iceman. So the Iceman's kind of like sitting down with his legs crossed, and he has 2 basketballs like this. I see that, yeah. It's one of the classic ones. And from there, that was another kind of, like, I hung it up on my wall, and it was one of those kind of things for me as a kid. Like, I didn't know who that player was, but seeing that and then learning more about him, he's another one that was there. Obviously, San Antonio and being part of the Spurs, that helped a lot. But those are some of the players that, you know, that I guess the image and there were more of the famous players that were known. Then later on, as my career developed and I got older, I was strictly a Manu Ginobili fan and a Steve Nash.
Dude, I'm not gonna comment because, you know, Lakers, bro.
Nah, Kobe's up there. Kobe's up there for sure.
Yeah,
the mentality of Kobe, his work ethic, and more than anything, I love that he's well-rounded within travel, right? Yep. Living in overseas, understanding how different cultures live and being able to speak multiple languages. Like, that's something you just admire.
That's awesome, man, for sure, brother. I'm going to backtrack a little bit, man. I'm going to tell everybody how we met, how we got connected. Do you want to
So, speaking of the Lakers, I guess shout out to Adam Parada.
Big Adam.
My big 7-footer with size 21 shoe.
7-foot Mexican, bro. That's the only one I know.
Yeah,
I know you know. But...
he was the last cut for the Lakers. Dude. I mean, he's done a lot for our community, right? For La Raza, you can sort of say, man. For sure. He was my roommate. I mean, he was one of those. He? Yeah, he's one of those guys that we came in together. Mm-hmm. My first rookie year, he was one of the other guys that came in to kind of showed me the ropes. And, you know, at that time, like we just said, he was like the last cut for the Lakers and was playing in the Philippines, was playing in China. Like, so he had that experience. So he was a good little mentor for me, honestly. And, you know, he hits me up one day. He's like, "Hey, my boy's living in San Antonio." And I'm like, "Oh, who's your boy? What?" He's like, oh, I gotta link you up. I gotta link you up. Like, and I don't know how long it took until we
Yeah,
finally like,
like I think we were just messaging each other. We text, we talked because you're in real estate, and yeah, that's what he was like, dude. You got to link up with my boy. He's an investor out there, and we started chopping it up, and obviously just hit it off, and yeah, we actually didn't meet because like travel season,
yeah,
COVID, like we finally met in person last year, right?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So we were just messages back and forth, and I mean, when we met in person, when we sat down, we realized what you already been here, what, 7 years, 8 years, something like that.
Oh, 5, bro. 5. I mean, it feels like, dude. I mean, I love it here, dude. It's San Antonio. Like I tell people, bro, it's like the hidden gem of Texas, man. And since I've been coming out here, over the last 10 years, before I moved here, I would come out here a lot with my wife, and I'm like, bro, LA, hustle and bustle, the rat race, and I come out to San Antonio, and I'm like, man, we got to get on the road, like traffic. And like, you get on the road, you're like, dude, there ain't nobody. Where's everybody at? One of the most populated cities in the country. You're like, and still to this day, it's like, yeah, you get that rush hour of
Yeah,
traffic, but you're still like can get to A and B pretty easily. And there's multiple areas, where you can side streets and cut, so there. And sometimes when you're in Southern California, man, you just like, you can only go that one way and you're like, that's it. But anyways, that's why I fell in love with San Antonio. I was like, man, this is a breath of fresh air, man. Like
yeah.
just not being all saturated and whatnot. But
I can see that easily, living in Mexico City and seeing like the pros and
oh,
cons to
dude.
living in a city like
Hmm.
LA, Mexico City, with traffic and pollution and
Yeah,
population. And
for sure.
I mean, but it has its pros, right? Like restaurants, and you
Yeah.
have the landscaping, the scenery, the beach.
Amenities, yeah, of course, for sure.
But San Antonio's
Weather.
special, bro.
Yeah, no,
I
for
like it.
sure.
I like you can get anywhere more or less in 20
Yep.
minutes. It's very family oriented.
Absolutely, man.
And it's good for investing in real estate, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Let elaborate, dude, since you're homegrown, man. Elaborate on San Antonio a little bit more for everybody that doesn't know about San Antonio, because that's what I get asked a lot about San Antonio. I give them straight facts and they think like I've lived here my whole life, but you've seen the changes
yeah.
over like, your whole life. So tell us some of the pros and cons that you see about San Antonio and things that you wish, like now that there's a lot of the areas that are getting revitalized. Like tell us a little bit about like the history, like as far as you've seen the changes, positive or negative, and things that you would like to incorporate, in the city if you're running shop here.
Well, I guess I'll start off like why I kind of got into like real estate and why I would know some of that information. So like going from basketball and living abroad, it was like, man, like I started making money, right? And it was kind of one of those things where it's like people always come up to me and be like, hey, make sure you invest that money. Make sure you invest that money. Like always little comments like that. No,
Strangers or like people
just people
like,
you'll meet
oh,
at an
okay, cool.
event or you're just like a gathering. You're always going as a player, professional
Okay.
basketball player.
I see.
You're
I don't
always
know how
meeting
that world
different
is. Oh,
people,
okay.
and they always drop off that comment, and I was like, well, I get that, like, but how or
Hmm.
in what, right? Because you start realizing, yeah, you could just throw out that word investing, and there's bad investments, and there's passive, there's high risk. I
Hmm.
mean, there's a lot of methods into investing. So it was like one of those things, like, well, you know what? Let me do the legwork and figure out, like, with me living abroad, not living here physically, like what I can get by with my time, right? Because it's valuable. I have a priority, which was basketball. So like I came across real estate because of that passive side of things where yes, it's phone calls, you're putting out fires depending on what level you're at in your career, emails. I mean, you're learning the ropes, but at the end of the day, you still can do it, living somewhere else, and it doesn't take up so much of your time, and there's different avenues of building equity, getting cash
Sure.
flow.
Absolutely.
It's a good method to also give you a purpose, I think, mentally, of like your money's just not sitting there or it's not in something boring, right? You're getting knowledge as you go on, and you start growing that passion for it. So that's kind of why I got into real estate. And, at the time, my strategy was just buy and hold. And then you start realizing, obviously, like multifamily, multiple doors. And you start realizing, like, well, how much is your time valuable, right?
Yeah,
Like,
for
so
sure.
that's kind of how I got into real estate. So, like, now looking at San Antonio back then, when I first bought my first rental property, I remember about it 42,000. It was a one bedroom, one bath, And it was a condo in the medical center area. And, you know, I remember at the time there was somebody else selling me that same square footage, but just needed some tile work and some cabinet maybe painting or something small,
Yeah,
minuscule. But
but they made it.
in
Yeah,
my
okay,
mind too, I was a rookie, right?
got
Like I
it.
was like,
But
I don't
did
know
they
how to do that.
did the
Like
agent make it seem like it was like, dude, this like full blown construction, or they're just like
I
playing
mean,
around?
that's another, right? You start
Yeah,
realizing like there's a
subjective. Yeah,
lot of agents that don't know how to invest or not even equipped to any of the terminology or you know, and there's gray areas that you have as a licensed realtor to be able to disclose, right? And you don't want to say the wrong things, whatever.
of course.
So this property they were selling it for 31,000. And one thing that I learned about that was like the reason why they were selling it apart from those little minor repairs was there was going to be a special assessment, and you know they wanted to do in the complex, right?
Okay.
Some pay the roads or
Oh, okay.
something, right? So it was going to go up to like 225 a month, the HOA.
Yeah, got it.
Uh, so like that was like, oh, you know what? That's super high for them. They want to get rid of it. And at that time too, I was like, well, man, that's a lot because I'm talking about back in 2010, right here. So like I was thrown by the flooring, I was thrown by the cabinets, I was thrown by the special assessment, but I didn't realize that the special assessment only lasts for so long, and then you know the HOA could fluctuate and it could go back down after a year or two. So I should have just held on, right, for something that you know now they're selling for 120, 115 right now in that same complex. So that was like my first deal was like that 42,000, and I only did like 1,500 in repairs or so, and you know cash flow great and all that. It's gone in appreciation. So I was like, oh wow, this is amazing. Like this is giving me a return. It's helping me be able to manage money, able to budget, knowing like, hey, my business could only spend this much per month, and this is what's coming in. You start learning as you grow, right? But overall, like in San Antonio, that's just like a small snippet of like how much it's grown. Like where I grew up, now you have like the peanut factory that was a distressed building right there for years. Like I remember my friend that put his tag name on the very top. And that was there since I graduated high school.
Dang.
And he tagged his name up there where in elementary. Like that thing was abandoned, distressed for like 15 years, right?
Oh,
and
man.
now you know they're nice apartments now. They made it nice, and obviously that everybody else you know is pushing their way to change things. And I mean Southtown, like it's totally different from the Lone Star 2, that area. I mean the Pro, I used to come here to drop on my dad at a alternative school. He was a teacher right over here, and so like just doing that drive from that, it's like, man, these houses have changed completely. And so overall, I mean, it's been good, obviously, for the city, and then there is some bad to it, right? Because then you have families that possibly can't afford that, so it's always that good and bad with it, right? And
sure.
and depending on what your perspective is, and where you lean on, but it's hard to say, right? And it's hard to really create that infrastructure of like, man, like, is this the route to go? If you ask me, like, as the mayor of San Antonio, right? Like, how do you go about, you know, you got cities like Seattle right now with the homeless population. You see it in Austin, how bad it is. And now they're trying to, you know, do the laws over citations. You can't really arrest anybody for different things. And so, I mean, those are little things that go on, right? And affect either owners of businesses or even neighborhoods of owners of residential.
Absolutely, man.
So, I mean, it's tough. And all I can say is, like, I'm glad I don't have that job, right? Like, it's not my responsibility to.
For sure.
I mean, you can vote, you can have an opinion, but at the end of the day, if you're not going to put that work into it, then you can't really say much, right? Like, if it's really bothering you or affecting you that much, then do something about it, right? Be that change.
Absolutely, man.
So, I mean, I don't even want to go into that because I'm not willing to put in that time and work. So it's like, I don't have that much room to judge or say anything.
Absolutely, man.
So that's kind of, I mean, there's pros and cons, but San Antonio has grown incredibly. Like,
I love it, man. It's so great here. So let me ask you this, brother. Like, so we're talking about, the diversity of different cities, but you have the Austin, San Antonio, which I've been telling people it's going to be the South Metroplex. You got Dallas, Fort Worth in there. It's like inevitable. Everything growing from Austin to San Antonio, all those cities that are just blowing up. San Antonio's blown up. One of the highest relocated population growth. In the last 5 years. What do you think about when they say like San Antonio isn't cool? You know, they're like everybody knows Austin,
Yeah.
and they're like, oh, how close is San Antonio to Austin? And they're like, but what do you think about that?
I can see that perception, that stigma of San Antonio for sure, right? As much as I've been fortunate to travel all over the world because of basketball, I've been able to see different environments, and I can definitely see why. But at the same time, as what I always told like all my Californian buddies, right? It's like I'd rather live somewhere where I can afford to go stay 2 months, 3 months where you live,
Yep.
and then come back, and my cost of living is
Man.
fine. Just my dollar goes a lot further in San Antonio or in Texas in general than it would, opposed to like a California.
For sure.
And I think a lot of people have caught on to that, obviously. And then you also have a lot of investors now investing out of state. And that's a whole different conversation of what it's doing to San Antonio. But it's not boring at all. I mean, you have Six Flags, you got SeaWorld. I mean, you got family-oriented things.
For sure, dude.
Hey, you can't knock off like Slitterbond. Slitterbond, I think, is like the number one water park in all United States. That's like right down the street.
Morgan's Wonderland. Yeah, dude, you got it all, bro.
You got tubing. You got tubing in the Guadalupe River.
Man.
Like, man. So, I mean, to me, it's like I like to live somewhere it's family-oriented, a little bit slower pace. And if I want to go a fast pace, and if I want, then, my means and because of my cost of living here, I can get up and say, hey, let's go to Montana, or let's go to Mexico City for 2 months or 3 months, right? Like, and it's easy to throw out those words. It's probably like, oh, this guy, whatever, right?
Yeah.
But I would plug in like real estate has been able to provide those, being able to knowing how to get into deals, going into real estate has been able to provide that flexibility in my time. But overall, like San Antonio's all right, man. It's not bad. I mean, the weather, climate change is changing for us in the benefit, where it's not so hot all the time now, and it's good. It's good to visit. I mean, you got good food here. I mean, I want to clarify, it's Tex-Mex food. People was like Mexican food, Mexico. I was like, well, it's not really Mexican food depending on what restaurant you go to. It's more Tex-Mex. You live in Mexico, and then within Mexico, there's different regions of how a tortilla is and what it's called. So I wouldn't just throw out good Mexican food. I would say it's good Tex-Mex food.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's funny because the weather. I always say 9 months of paradise, 3 months of hell, dude.
And that's when you get up and go. All that money you've been able to save, then living over there. Get away.
Dude, you hit a key point, bro, about like living here and being able to afford to go places and stuff like that. Literally just having to talk with my wife about that, about us, how we transitioned living here and being able to do all these like my friends tease me like, oh, you're a baller. I'm like, no, I'm not, dude. Our dollar goes a lot further out here, and we're able to go places. And my wife doesn't know this, but like last year we went to Disney Alani, big family Hawaii vacation, and this is the first time I ever used like our passive money to pay for something, pay for our trip. And I was like, I felt guilty because I'm like, the money's like, that's from one of our rentals, and we just like, we utilized it to like, she didn't know that, but like, I was like, yeah, dude, like, just, it was pretty cool, but it was like, I felt guilty because I'm like, one, I didn't tell her, and two, it was like, man, it's like I use real estate to, provide for my family, like, to do this trip.
Can't feel guilty for that, man.
I know, but
because
I mean,
real estate is such a slow grind, right? It's like
totally
that slow gratification.
Bro.
So when you can use for something like that, it's like,
yeah. But that was the first time I ever did that. I've never bought jewelry, cars, or something. I was like, utilize it for family vacation. But I was like, because we try to stack the chips so we can leverage and buy more real estate and whatnot. I mean, that's our strategy.
But I get it.
Family vacations, that quality time with the family, man, like that's, and being able to be here, and like you nailed it, man, where it's like, yeah, dude, you can do stuff like that, but cool, man. So dude, we'll talk about your next endeavor, bro.
So I'm an inactive real estate agent,
Free agent, baby.
free agent. I'm a free agent, declaring for the draft.
You going first round or what? What's up?
I don't know. We'll see.
Dang. So tell us about that whole process, because we're talking about it, when you're going to take your test, you're doing your classes, we're communicating, and, I was your cheerleader, bro,
Nah,
and
you've been there since day one, honestly. Like as far as information and flexibility to, answer any, could be stupid questions. Honestly, you start realizing it's an industry where like people would do a lot of shady things just to get ahead, right?
you
And
see right through people, man.
and you get to see like, okay, and that's fine, right? Like you can dictate like, okay, this guy's just business, and that's
Exactly,
it.
man.
Okay, that's fine. This
Mhm.
guy's like wants to shoot the breeze a little bit and do business, that's fine too. Like this guy's gonna undermine or cut or steal something, then that's where I draw the line, right? Like
Yep.
it's like, all right, like that's not I'm not with that. Like especially where I grew up too is like I'm not about
About
that.
those
Like
locals, dog. For you.
that karma, that
Yeah,
karma,
for
that
sure.
karma comes
Karma
back.
boomerang, dog. Yeah, for sure.
So I mean, yeah, like you said, right? You gave me that those 2 cents of like, hey, interview with everybody and everyone, right? You start figuring it out. You start realizing like what is that path you want to take, because you can do so much with real estate, and even as a real estate agent, you can go so many different directions, and that's what I've been doing. Just doing a lot of interviews and getting a feel for it. And I never went down this road as far as getting my license years ago, just because when I was investing and I was just so cautious of like the gray areas.
Mhm.
And people were always telling me, like, well, your name and like people find out you play professional basketball,
Mhm.
and so there was just a lot of little things that I was like, you know what, I'm not even gonna touch that. Like, I'm
Mhm.
not gonna touch my license yet. And now that basketball is coming to an end, it was like, what else do I have a passion for? Like, what is that other thing that I want to wake up in the morning, and it's not because I need to do it, it's because I want to do it, kind of
For
thing.
sure.
And real estate has been that thing for me the past 10 years, where it's
Yeah.
like, I remember the first time I went to go visit my the house that we live in now. It's like we visited like 10 houses. Poor agent that I had at the time, but I was loving every bit of it.
Yeah,
I
for
I
sure.
love driving. I love to
Yeah.
like learn the different
10, that's easy,
areas,
bro. Like, that's cool, man. Like, I've done, yeah, I mean,
the
you'll
square
know, bro.
feet,
Yeah.
and you start realizing, you start seeing things as an investor. It's like, man, like there's so much dead space here. Like there's people in New York that will kill for a space that you're using nothing
Steady
for
'em.
it. Like there's a lot of little things like that you have conflict, right? As an agent and as an investor, like,
Mhm.
oh, you could have saved here, like, or so I mean, I loved like all that about it, just the travel, just to learn the square footage of houses, like the materials, the areas, and I enjoyed it, and I still enjoy it. So, real estate for me is that passion.
No, for sure. How do you feel like, obviously, besides the financial aspect, how do you feel like transitioning from, basketball career into real estate? How do you think that's helped you, like analyze stuff, work ethic, obviously, being a professional athlete? Like, how do you think that's like transformed you into, your next endeavor?
I mean, it's a lot of similarities, like the discipline, the time management.
I think that's key, man. Time
Yeah,
management for sure, dude.
it's
Controlling the clock, knowing, your bandwidth and knowing all that stuff, because you're still a dad, you're still an entrepreneur, you're still an
exactly.
investor, you're still freaking the mayor, it's like you gotta control that bandwidth, man. So
And I think a lot to do with that is like, for me, is like, who can you bring along with you, kind of thing, right? Like being a minority, and coming from where I came from, is like, how can I help somebody not get burned? How can I help somebody not know the basics to this financial literacy of like someone just taking advantage of? And to me, that's the biggest thing. And I love that transition that it is from like the basketball locker room to like real estate with the team, right? Like being able to like walk through here and see that dry erase board of like, hey, this is what's going on,
yeah.
reach back here, like all the logistics that go
Hmm.
into that takes discipline, that takes a team. I like that, and I enjoy that. And I know that right now there's like a lot of concepts and disruptors going on with, the whole, I don't want to say it, a pyramid format,
Yeah, I
right?
got it.
Like a
No,
pyramid
yeah, for sure.
format, like, and I get it. Like you see all the ins and outs, and
Hmm.
um, I guess like to me is like I already lost my train of thought where I
Oh
was going with
man,
that.
but no, for sure. Like to coattail off of that, man. Like the team effort. That's why I came from public service, man, and the fire department and military. So it was like I was always, yeah, you have your competency, your skill level and whatnot, but we have a mission, dude, whether it be putting out a fire or outside the wire and stuff like that, and being able to bounce ideas off of people, relying on, when you're a real estate agent, yeah, you're an independent contractor, but you're still utilizing your broker mentors and stuff. I mean, that's what I look for when I look for a brokerage, or when I did the transition from my previous brokerage to here. I was like, man, I want somebody I'm gonna grow with, and we might be a smaller, like when I transitioned to Lockwood Realty, I was like, man, it's a smaller brokerage, but they're doing stuff that I'm doing and I want to do, and I want to scale up. And I mean, that's kind of where I was at with that, man, that team environment.
Yeah, a lot similar, right? All sports, military, everything's about, comes back to the same thing. Now I remember my thought. So like that whole format, right, is like, to me, it's like isolating the individual,
Mhm.
um, like not coming to the office, commuting, not building that team, like, and understanding that if someone's gonna mentor you or help you, like that takes time and that takes money, right? Like, so you got to be understanding too of
For
that.
sure.
Like, you just can't expect to come into something and just right out the bat earn something.
Mhm.
You know, to me, I mean, you're taking that time, you're taking that mentor, you're learning a process and a system, and I'm all for that. Like, and that's what team camaraderie
Yeah,
is, right?
for
Like
sure.
building that, understanding all that. And for me, I'm a little old school in that sense. I
Mhm.
would say, to an extent, right? I draw a line somewhere, but I want to feel that team environment. I
Mhm.
want to hear that soundboard of like bouncing ideas, or like,
Yeah.
hey, I think you could possibly do this better, or like, have you seen this perspective, this angle of
Yeah.
how to gain this kind of investor? Um, Little things like that. I think it's amazing, and what you can accomplish together instead of like isolating yourself. Like, and it ties in a little bit of like the generations of kids that are coming with just the tablets and their cell phones. I
Yeah.
mean, all that's taking away time to be with your family. Like, it's just isolating them to just sit staring at something. And that goes a little bit more into parenting, but to I guess the point of it all, right? Sports, military, parenting.
Yeah.
I mean, all that all kind of involves the same concepts, the same discipline. And to me, that's what it's another thing is real estate, that team.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. And building your brand and sphere of influence, all these like different elements and variables, dude, that compile, man, to, be successful in this industry and whatnot, man. So let's add another layer to that. So what do you, since you're a free agent, there's people out there looking, they're like, I want to get my license, or man, I'm about to take my test. And man, like, what are some of the things that you're looking for in a brokerage?
I think a lot of that is the mentorship.
Okay.
It's like seeing someone that has done it, been there. Uh, I think also someone that's not so far ahead where like not necessarily catch them up, but get to that same level of like that respect, right?
Mhm.
Like, um, because there's some that are just so high up there that they don't want to waste their time, honestly, right? They don't
Yep.
have that bandwidth, and I
Yep.
get it. Like,
Yep.
that's the chapter in life that they're in, or they're so big that that gap is just that
Mhm.
margin's too large to fulfill. So I want to have that mentorship of like, look, this is where I'm at. Um, I want investing to be part of it as far as the agent side of things, like in the broker. And I feel like I should have that knowledge of commercial as well too.
Mhm.
I want to be well rounded within just the agency industry in general, right?
Yeah.
So it has to be that broker. I mean, the flexibility of like coming to the office or not, like I get it, but for me as starting out, like I feel like you gotta have that discipline.
Mhm.
You gotta have like, hey, I gotta be here at this time, and then from there my schedule
Yeah,
starts.
for sure. The
I like
routine.
that. I
Yeah.
like that. Like, that's the same thing in sports, right? Like, hey,
Yeah.
you got to meet at 5 a.m. in the weight room,
Mhm.
and or you got to meet at 11 a.m. after you go to class. I mean, little things like that, like, or even traveling in the professional level, like, hey, we're leaving the hotel at 4 a.m. Have your bags packed, and then traveling, and you got to get there, and there's an agenda, right? And
Yeah.
then you work within that. And for me, as a beginner, I feel like I'm gonna need that, and I want that, like to come into the office, to be around other either people that are rookies.
Mhm.
I'm okay with that, but at the end of the goal, that brokerage or that broker has to have that knowledge, and then be able to be relatable to like a rookie, right? Being able to have that leadership skills. But right now, I would say the investing side, obviously, and as far as like first time home buyers and stuff like that, like I said, like bring people along with you, like friends, family, like give them that knowledge of like credit report, like how important that is,
Yeah.
right? Like little things like that. Like growing up, where you grow up, like you don't see your parents having that.
Conversation.
You don't have
For
friends
sure.
around your family that have bought home or so it's
Leveraging
so
it,
far
dude,
out there.
scaling it,
Yeah, I
cash
mean
out
that's
refis, or
a whole
anything like that.
nother
Yeah, dude.
another whole conversation
Yeah.
discussion. You could get real deep with it,
Mhm.
but just on the surface level, like to this day, like I have friends that don't know like that's the first step to even doing, and I still want to be part of that too because
Yeah.
that's my way of helping out. That's my way of like
Yeah, serving, man. That's awesome, bro. Um, I'm gonna go a little bit more on that. Get a little surgical with the mentorship because, like, you go to, 'cause you're well rounded, bro. You're smart. You've been around. You know the business. You're an investor. I mean, you're learning. You've seen enough contracts. Like, what could somebody teach you? Like, hey, I want mentorship, and I'm like looking at you and like, dude, like this guy knows what's up. Like, what exactly do you think you need help with or mentorship as far as being a new agent? Besides obviously doing a deal, because you've done a lot of deals, dude. You've done
yeah,
deals without realtors, bro. Like, you
yeah,
know,
yeah,
you just bought something, dude, and it's like,
yeah.
yeah,
We just
just
got
yeah.
seller's
That's
finance
what I'm
two
saying.
months ago.
Exactly. You didn't
Um,
use a realtor, right?
no,
See,
no. I
like,
mean, yeah, that's the whole creative side of things, right? I
yeah.
think it's more so like that kind of like puts you in a state of mind of the unknown
Mhm.
is like, you know, the pivots within a contract maybe,
Yeah.
but more so like on not oversharing.
Got it.
That's my
Okay.
thing because I'm an open book. Like you
Yeah.
can ask me any questions
You
and
me know,
I tell
yeah.
you how it is, right?
Yeah.
Like, so like, I think it's gonna be hard for me to do those showings without oversaying or stepping my boundaries into like the investor mindset kind
Yeah.
of thing.
Absolutely, man.
That I think that and what comes with that, right? There could be consequences to that. And that's the main thing. Um, Obviously, like I wouldn't even say leads is something I would need help with. I mean, it's just that
Yeah.
just show me one deal. Let me
Yeah.
shadow you for a day or two, like one deal. And I'm sure like every contract, every deal is gonna be the same. You're gonna always have to be on your toes,
Learn
right? Like,
something. Yeah. There's always a freaking left
and
field,
that's the
right field.
beauty
Yeah.
about it, right? That's
For
what you
sure.
want. You want to be part of
For
that. I
sure.
want to feel that pressure, like being a competitive athlete. I
Yeah.
love those pressure
Yeah,
situations,
it's
right?
different all the time, man.
So it's gonna be different, and you're always gonna have to have that mentorship at arm's length, right? Like, hey, I have this thing, like, I don't know which way to go with it. Like, I need some help on it. Hey, this so and so is asking for this. Like, being able to have that communication,
Yeah.
that pipeline open is real
Absolutely.
crucial to me right now. I feel like, um, and yeah, I think it's just really experiencing that transaction. I mean, I'm sure there's different marketing leads that I have no idea about. I mean,
There's so
software
much
and
shit. Yeah, there's so
there's
much shit
so
out
much
there.
way
Like,
that I'm sure that it's gonna be learning.
yeah,
But I think if you're wanting to learn that information, it's not gonna be easy, but you're gonna find that how to use that software, how to work the system, like.
for sure.
But that mentorship is that, and
Super important.
it's really that, and it's really that team building. Like the, hey, we understand it's all business, but sometimes let's go as a team. Let's do a happy hour. Let's get
Yeah.
the families together, or
Yeah.
like, hey, because that
Absolutely, man.
Mexican culture is like crucial to me too, right? Like big old families, like cookouts, and
Barbecue, bro. Yeah,
so
what's up, dude?
I
Yeah,
need that too, like
yeah,
of like feeling like, hey, we all got skin in the game,
yeah.
kind of thing.
No, absolutely, man. And that's something we're implementing here, man. Like, we talked about it again because we were in like Lockwood was in big transition too, but we're doing like lunch and learns with creative financing, private equity people coming in and showing how they formulate deals and stuff. Like things are out of the box. You know, you have the other seminars like, hey, VA home loan and all that stuff, which is super important. You know, me being a veteran, like being able to educate that community, having a, you know, jack of all trades, master of none type of stuff. But, you know, obviously thinking outside the box. So you do creative deals. You know, most people and some agents are like, creative financing. Like, what are you talking about? Oh, seller financing. Well, what happens if you get a little bit more detailed with on the creative side? They're like I did a deal last week, bro, where the title company's like, we've never even seen a note like this done. Like they had to bring an outside lawyer to draft it. They're like, we've never done something like this. The terminology and whatnot, you know, the schematics behind it. I was like, yeah. I was like, shout out to my boy Pace Morby, dude. That guy. Dude,
Yeah,
you follow that guy, dude?
I do not.
Dude,
No,
that
no.
guy's
I need to.
creative financing, bro. That guy's he's wealth of knowledge. But
And that's awesome. I mean, that's someone I need to follow now.
well, just thinking outside the box,
yeah,
though, man.
that's
Like,
the thing, though. Like,
obviously, look at the market, dude. It's different because I've talked to agents that got their license during COVID, and they're like, dude, like I could just wake up and sell a house and dog chale, they ain't around anymore, bro. Or they're like, man, I'm selling. Yeah,
right?
I
To
mean,
me,
beat
it's
them out.
like I'm getting in it at the right time because
Bro,
all the ones that thought
the
it was
tough
easy
time right now.
business is like they're
Yep.
getting weeded out.
Yep.
And it's
Easy.
like
the hungry people are right now working, being successful, and figuring out something. You know, like it's just that's why I love it because the people ask me all the time, dude, are markets slow down, interest rates? I'm like, dude, I stay busy, bro. Like I it's overwhelmed, but in a good way. It's a blessing and a curse. But no, like it's just, man, like you gotta.
I mean, you touch on a lot of subjects right there. Like, I'm just gonna like the VA loans, right? That's your community, right? Like, so like basketball, like playing overseas and playing different. Like a lot of guys sign 1-year deals, right? That's like the norm. And then when you need that tax history, you know those 2 years minimum, right, of that record, and it's like. In my career, I figured that out. So that's when I started signing 2-year deals minimum because of that help, right? Being able to leverage that and get loans. So that's like a little niche too in my community. Like a lot of these players don't know about that. Like, and then they hit that wall and it's like, oh, this is too hard, or like, oh, it's too late for me. So like, I want to try to get that word out before it hit that wall, right? Like to help out. I mean, that's just a small niche. And other thing is like small nationals.
Niche, bro. Come on, dog. that's humbly.
Other thing that you touched on too is like nationals, right? Playing in med school for so long and being a public figure there, like being able to get into deals for like through owner financing, like being able to get creative with it, where it's not going to be the traditional route of a bank.
Credentials, no bank account, like it's
exactly.
Just,
that's another avenue too that I would like to help that community too, and have actually.
And you're doing it, dude. You've done it yourself.
I actually sold one of my plays on owner. I was the seller on the owner finance.
Oh, really? You didn't use
me,
bro?
To a buyer. This was like 6 years ago, I think.
That's all good, man.
The last one was me being the buyer.
Yeah.
The one 2 months ago.
Yeah, I won't hold that against you, bro. No, that's what's up, man. Hey, bro. So you've touched on a lot of stuff. Tell us, like Orlando, like your real estate goals, man. Like what's the big picture? You don't even have to go into exit strategy because we know this is a marathon. But like, what is your goals, dude?
Oof, that is tough, man. I haven't sat down and wrote them all out.
Neither have I.
I touched on one. Like I want to get familiar with commercial. Like I want to know that the way I know like multifamily or 1 through 4 or single family. I want to keep on my goals. Just part of my portfolio within real estate. I want to have a property or two of each one, right? A commercial, residential, multifamily, and I want to have land. Like a goal for me is that, but I think the ultimate is being able to have that second country home kind of thing, where it's like I have a ranch with acreage and I could get away. That's a goal, but that's not really into what you asked. Well, I guess to me it's like
it's all part of it though, man. Like it's big picture, and you have short-term, long-term goals. And like, dude, I'm just like you. If somebody asks me that, I'm like stuck because I'm like, I just want to keep buying. Like, I don't know, like how many properties is enough, and it's like, I don't know. So I feel like I can do whatever I want, whenever I want. I don't know what that number is.
Here we go. You narrowed it down a little bit for me
cool,
because when you mentioned that, it's like, I hit that point where it's like, you hit that wall. It's like, well, you know what? It's not really how many doors I have. It's like, which one of those is bringing me closer to that goal, right? Because of the quality over the quantity kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
So, or vice versa, the reverse. But I think within real estate, I want to get of just passive income. I think a goal for me is within 20 to 30 grand a month is probably where I want to go. I don't know how many doors that's going to take, if it's more or less, but I think that's as far as the finance the side is where I want to get to as an investor. Right now we branched out as an investing side of our company. Now we've done a deal in Mexico City. So like I learned a lot doing something abroad. So that's been pretty cool. And now like within this next 5 years, my next goal is to have a beach house in Mexico. We're looking at different destinations.
Sayulita?
Huh?
Sayulita? Where at?
Where's that at?
Puerto Vallarta?
No, I haven't even been in Puerto Vallarta, honestly, but La Paz is one that's on my list. Oaxaca, Puerto Escondido is another one that I honestly love. And then Cancun, we lived there for a year, and Isla Mujeres is one of my favorites that we will go every weekend with my kids.
Were you with Adam during that time?
Yeah, I was with Adam during that time. Yeah, our kids are like,
okay.
They're always going
they're
together.
around the same age too. That's right, dude. So I remember he was living out there.
Perfect connection, bro. It's perfect for everything. So like those 3 destinations I've been looking at, and I thought COVID, I was gonna get there sooner. I thought COVID it did totally opposite of what I thought the market would happen. Right, everything just like went up over here.
Crazy, man.
And then everything kind of stabilized in Mexico and a little bit dipped, and then it just went back up. So it's like I thought it was gonna just continue to just go down, and I was like, "You're just gonna be my chance to get that beach house." So the other destination, because I actually went to go see this one, was in Mérida. Mérida is the Yucatan.
Okay.
That's another area that I'm interested. So between those 4 is what I'm looking at, and within 5 years is what I want to get to that point. Because once we have in our personal ambitions, it's like once we have all those systems in place where things can just, we're just doing logistics and putting out fires by cost, like
virtually, dude. You're just like running your business freaking at the playa,
exactly,
dog,
like,
and that's what's up, man.
We want to get to that point within 10 years, and then our kids are in college. Then that's kind of the goal, and real estate's gonna take me that on the investing side and possibly agency. Like I don't have those ambitions to be the #1 realtor, rookie of the year. First of all, like there's so many entities that give away prizes. Like you don't even know which one's like even valuable or which one's not. And then there's different entities that are like, well, is it by bulk? Is it like, what are you really netting in? Like, I mean, I don't have any desires for any goals for agency. Like, honestly, like I don't even have like, hey, I got to sell 30 homes by 1 year. Or,
for sure.
Not me. To me, it's just the knowledge and that discipline of giving me that structure of what my life in this career is going to look like where I'm going to be able to figure out where my flexibility, my time for my kids, my family, knowing that more so is more important to me. The rest will work out itself, right? Sure. Like it's just like anything. If I have the blinders on, I'm focused and I'm going after that, the rest will just fall in line.
Man, that's awesome, brother. Like, dude, that's a lot, and that's good stuff, dude. Like, I'm super pumped for you, brother. Like, I tell you, bro, I'm like one of your biggest cheerleaders, dude, when it comes to real estate. I've never watched you hoop, bro, but like, as far as real estate goes, man, and your mindset, you're from here, your passion is to serve others, help other people, because dude, you came from, man, and
I should run for my district, huh, Congressman?
Dude, what's up, bro?
I've got people telling me to run for man. I should look into it.
Hey, bro. I mean, you got my vote, dog. But hey, man, like I'm like I said, dude, super proud of you. Super thankful for you being here and just going on this path. And like I said, man, like wherever I tell you all the time, bro, your sphere of influence, you're gonna get to those goals like pretty quick, man. Your work ethic, your background, all that stuff, dude. It's all just gonna come together, man. And you're gonna look back at this interview and be like, oh man, I should have shot higher. It's because you're like, oh man, and dude.
Only time will tell, right?
No, for sure, man.
I appreciate those kind words, though, man.
No, like I said, bro. Even if you don't come to my brokerage, bro, we're still gonna be having these conversations though, man, and we're gonna be bouncing stuff off or joint venture stuff, like just same mindset, you know, those
Right.
people, dude, that just want to step up their game. It doesn't matter if, you know, you're a different team, different brokerage, different this, but like same mindset, man, serving, being passionate, you know, putting that energy out there, because it's all going to come back to you, man. And,
Yeah.
you know, having that platform to be able to do that with real estate, you know, doing all that stuff, man. So thanks again, brother, for being here, man.
Oh,
And
man.
dude, I'm looking forward to your journey on this real estate, man. And everybody watching, bro, I know they're like, dude, man, like he's starting. I know I could start tomorrow. Like, woo woo, you know. And
Yeah.
that's the whole idea behind this, man. Just being able to resonate with people. You know, I'm still kind of new to the game too, man. And you know, you're starting out as a new agent and all this stuff, man. So it's really gonna reach people, man. So
I hope so, man. I
yeah,
hope so. I mean, we need more, right? Like, especially in my area, my community, like, there's something that they could accomplish. It's reachable. And there's a lot of them that are already successful doing it, what they do. Appreciate your time,
yeah, bro.
honestly, bro, and your friendship and
What's up, dog? Of
always your
course, dog.
opinions, perspectives. It always helps, bro.
Yeah, man.
All that's help. And I appreciate your time, honestly.
All right, bro. Can't wait to have you back, man. Tell us how it's going, dude.
Yeah, we'll see.
All right, brother. Cool, man. Thanks, dude.
All right.
Yeah. Bro, that was good, dog.
Run it.